Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology. So we are concentrating the strength of materials subject. So this is SME 1204 code. I will fastly refresh and I will go to new topics further. We already discussed what is strength of materials, and we discussed about what is force, weight, etc. And I said compressive strength, tensile strength, shear strength, etc. We have seen some examples also. See, this is about the axial force type and which is acting centrally, maybe tension or compression. And the bottom one is telling about the bending stress, and the other one is the shear stress. For shear stress, the area is parallel to the axis, parallel to the force applied, whereas for axial forces type of thing, that is force divided by cross-sectional area. That is cross-sectional area is area acting perpendicular to it, right? And there is a practical situation where the different a particular structure is experiencing different types of tension, compression. We had discussed on that. Then we moved on. Load divided by area representation. Then I said compressed stress, tensile stress, something like that. These are pictorial views about the particular axial loads, things like. And I said some practical cases of such stresses. See, bolt and sleeve assembly is there. You see, after the sleeve is added on onto the bolt, and nut is tightened, and then the stress experienced by the sleeve will be compressive in nature, and the bolt will be tensile in nature. Right? This is another example of turnbuckle where this particular rope is experiencing the tensile stress. Okay. The concept of shear stress, we move on now. So here the load is acting, as shown, and the shear is happening in the way the direction is shown, and the area is parallel to the force applied. And if you see shear stress, this again the pictorial views explain the area resisting area, that one is parallel to the load applied. So it is a practical application where two sheets are added with bolts. There are different techniques available like welding, riveting kind of things, and you will be able to, when the pull is applied after the bolt is fixed, then it is likely to fail by shear. That is what the thing we noticed. And it is another example I discussed, shear stress application, where the key failure. See, the pulley and the shaft is being connected with a member called key, and the key on rotation is experiencing the shear stress, but all the failure is happening, it will occur at the key, and the shear stress is shown here in this particular key as the particular one, shear stress. It is another example of tie rod where the thing is failed by shear again. Okay, so here the nature of the thing is going to be shear. That's what we discussed. Then we different type of stresses are shown here. See, compression, tension, shear, torsion, bending, and things like that. So these are some other practical cases of things like that. Then I said ultimate strength factor of safety. It is a maximum strength it can withstand just before failure. Okay, so that is going to be the ultimate stress divided by ultimate stress is never nothing but your ultimate strength. And the factor of safety is something like ultimate stress divided by working stress. It is going to be a number which should be more than 1 for any practical applications, for having a meaningful life of the particular system also, right? From here we have to start now. So this is what the idea. The strain may be longitudinal strain, volumetric strain, or shearing strain. So number 1 is longitudinal strain is a single dimension, shearing strain is a 2 dimension, volumetric strain is a 3 dimension one. So force divided by cross-sectional area is going to be the stress. Similarly, the strain is going to be the change in length divided by original length. For example, you take a member, you apply load. So it is being extending. What is the extension? That is small l. The original length is AL. The L divided by L is going to be the strain. That is called the longitudinal strain. It doesn't have any unit because numerator is in meter, denominator is in meter. Both are getting cancelled. Therefore, there is no unit for that. And if you see the shearing strain, I will go to the diagram. You see one block is shown. A force is applied tangentially on the particular member. So the area is shown there A. So F divided by A, that is going to be the shearing stress. Okay. So it makes an angle gamma. For example, delta X is moved there. Because of that, the gamma angle is realized there. So the shearing strain is called gamma. That is nothing but tan gamma. That is tan theta. Okay. So here delta X by L is going to be the shearing strain. That is what something like. Okay. Then you come to the volumetric strain. Volumetric strain is nothing but change in volume divided by original volume. When we apply force in 3 dimension, there is a likely change of in volume is noticed. That volume in meter cube divided by original volume will give you volumetric strain. Then we next come to an important idea called Poisson's ratio. So this Poisson's ratio is nothing but lateral strain divided by longitudinal strain. It's a constant within elastic limit. Many of the students will omit the word within elastic limit. That word is wrong. Okay, we have to include the condition within elastic limit, because till that only the particular relation is meaningful, and the lateral strain divided by longitudinal strain is a constant, and it is represented by nu. That is strain lateral by strain longitudinal. See here the pictorial view is shown. See the first figure, there is a block. It is being pulled by two forces either side. So what happens? It's slightly extending. When it is extending, the other dimensions, lateral dimensions, are being reduced. Okay. So what is the change in length divided by original length? That concept I am applying for 2 dimension. Longitudinal strain means what? Which is in denominator. What is how it is coming? Change in length divided by original length with respect to longitudinal direction. That is length direction. At the same time, cross section direction, there is a lateral direction. 2 axes are there. In that, change in length divided by original length is going to be the lateral strain. So lateral by longitudinal strain is a constant that is given by nu. It is invented by Poisson, the gentleman. The picture is shown to you for your ignore. The Poisson ratio is what? Lateral strain is directly proportional to longitudinal strain. That is a condition. And I have to introduce a constant. The constant is nothing but mu, and the mu equal to Poisson's ratio. Some books refer as mu, some books refer as 1 by m, both refer same, and it doesn't have any unit because both are strains. Strain itself not having any unit. Therefore, lateral strain divided by longitudinal strain is also dimensionless, right? Then we come to another important idea called Saint-Venant principle. Okay. This gentleman, see, for example, I will explain the case and I'll explain the wording. You see this is a member. It is applied by 2 forces either side, and because of that it is elongating. Then you see this diagram, this is stress distribution is not uniform. Then after some distance, the stress distribution becomes uniform. So at center, the force, the stress will be more, or to say force will be more there. But the stress is keep on reducing here as like something like curve. After some time, this becomes something like uniform. So where from the uniformity starts, that is going to be the particular thing. Usually in any of the equations or things like that, we take it is very uniform. But that is not uniform with respect to the particular one. It is 2.5 times diameter of the length of the shaft we have to take. So we are taking the member's head, a diameter of shaft D, then 2.5 times diameter of the length. After that, the stress becomes uniform. That is a practical observation. It has been invented by this gentleman, Saint-Venant. So that is it is called Saint-Venant's principle. It is a nice concept. Okay. And what is this machine? You would have experienced, you would have done experiments in your strength of material laboratory. So this is your tensile testing machine, a practical view. It's not a testing machine. It's there. So this is the sample. The sample is, say, for example, mild steel. Mild steel is widely used for engineering constructions. So this particular one is being made with respect to some specific dimensions, things like that, and it is being loaded in the machine and it is being pulled apart. When we are pulled apart, we study now load, deformation, etc. We try to plot the stress strain curve. This is what is happening in tensile testing machine. Okay. So this is another important thing called salient features of stress strain diagram for mild steel, right? You see this. Here it is starting from 0. For example, y-axis is stress, x-axis is strain. Okay. As the stress is increased, the strain is also increasing. At 0 stress, there is no strain. Therefore, it starts from 0. And it is, as stress is increased, correspondingly strain is also increased. And it is following the linear relationship up to some level. It is called the proportional limit. First of all, this diagram is meant for mild steel. Okay. Now you see, after that, lower yield point is noticed, upper yield point is noticed. Here upper yield point, after the lower yield point, this point A is called the proportional limit. The proportional limit is nothing but stress is directly proportional to strain, that limit. Okay, beyond that, what happens? That linearity is affected in A to B, from A to B. From B to C is also linearity is not there. Some mismatches are noticed C to D, and thereafter, as stress increases, strain value also increasing, the value is going. And here it reaches ultimate tensile stress. The corresponding stress value is called ultimate tensile stress at this point, and the corresponding strain is noticed there. And the engineering curve will be coming down like this. Actual loading curve will further move like this. But this is what the thing now. Okay, here we have to understand certain mechanical properties also. This is your Hooke's law. What is your Hooke's law? Stress is proportional to strain within elastic limit. Okay, the stress equal to a constant multiplied by the strain. What is the constant? The constant is E. For one dimension, it is E, and the E is called Young's modulus. What is E now? Stress divided by strain within elastic limit. Many of you will define like, what is Young's modulus? Stress divided by strain. That is not the exact answer. There is a condition to be imposed. What is the condition? That is within elastic limit is only the particular one. So what is stress? See, go to the diagram now. See, the stress is now, for this condition, there is a stress corresponding strain. That is here another stress, another strain. Here another stress, another strain, like that. In all the places I put stress divided by strain, that value is constant. That constant is going to be elastic limit. So the elastic limit is a constant with the unit. It is another observation. In science and engineering, there are constants with unit, there are constants without unit also. This is a constant with the unit. That is observation. Okay. And up to elastic limit, proportional limit is there now. So I am just releasing the load, means the material will come back to normal level. Beyond that, if it is going, we are entering into plastic region. Plastic region means permanent deformation region, and because of that, things are going. Okay. And now you see some concept called resilience. What is that actually? You see, up to elastic point, the proportional limit, elastic limit, okay, I am just dropping a vertical line. Then it forms a triangle, right? The area under the stress strain curve, it is nothing but the triangle area, that is called resilience. Okay. So in a unit volume of material, if the resilience, I mean the strain energy stored, is referred as proof resilience. Okay. This is one mechanical property. Many of the interviews, you will be asked, tell few mechanical properties. Then you can say now, the strain energy stored within elastic limit is called the resilience. Okay. Then what is toughness? Strain energy stored beyond elastic limit. That is what is called toughness. That is strain energy stored in the plastic region is called toughness. So both are strain energy. In one particular case, it will be, if your load is released, it will come back to its original state. Whereas beyond that, if you are going, it is going to face the permanent deformations. That is what the observation. Here, an interesting fact is noticed. Many of the textbook also forget this to inform. Okay. For example, at A, what is the corresponding strain? There is some value. At F, fracture happens. Correct or not? At F, what is the strain value? That should be the dotted line where it meets vertically. But the actual strain calculated is to be very little bit lesser. What is the lesser one means? Whatever the strain energy is accumulating in this particular region, it is being given out. It is being given out at this stage. And the material is so harnessed. Whatever the material strain energy stored accumulated within elastic limit, that is being liberated. Because of that, the actual strain value is little bit coming down. This is not mentioned in some of the textbooks. So it should be a very valid point to note. So two mechanical properties we have discussed from this stress strain diagram. That is, one is resilience, another one is toughness. Both are important with respect to mechanical engineering. But if you see the particular actual industry practice, the strain energy stored, the toughness usually they say this rectangle alone. Totally the rectangle they will take like in industry, because calculation of the small variations are very difficult to do that, and this curve is very closer to y-axis. Therefore, you can almost say the big rectangle will refer like toughness with respect to industry perspective. Okay, the calculations are giving enough acceptable solutions, which is okay for industry view, right? So how the tensile test is done with respect to different material, it is shown. See, ductile material, if you see you can see now, because of that, I mean, local necking is happening at these places, and it is going to fail as cup and cone failure, okay, and things like that for ductile material. The same thing is just no yielding is noticed here, just it is broken into pieces. If you keep one over the other, you will notice that both are like the original component. After just holding it at a place, you will notice like it is looking like original component, okay. So it is about the brittle material concept. Another interesting point, in cup and cone failure will be you noticed for pure mild steel member, okay. If any inclusions are there, then this particular pattern is slightly deviating. For example, sulfur content is more, then it will be abruptly breaking. This is what we notice, okay. So in any of the cases, if things are sulfur is higher, then the ductile failure is not noticed. There is a difference, okay. Then we come to the Hooke's law in a little bit in detail. So again here stress is proposed to strain. Already we have discussed this. So stress equal to a constant multiplied by strain. The stress is nothing but E into strain. The E is a constant. So E is the Young's modulus within elastic limit, and it can take like 2.1 and 10 power 5 Newton per mm square, or 10 power 11 Newton per mm square. That is Newton per meter square. I'm sorry, there is a correction here in the PPT. It is Newton per meter square. Please have a correction. And it is 210 gigapascal. Okay, 1 Pascal equal to 1 Newton per meter square, and things like that. Okay, so he is the gentleman Robert Hooke, under who has developed the concept Hooke's law, stress is proportional to strain. So what is the gentleman? The gentleman is Thomas Young. Under his name only we have done this particular constant, Young's modulus. Okay, the modulus of elasticity, as we told, is the value we have to take, right? And the types of modulus elasticity we are coming now. There are 3 moduli of elasticity. The first one is Young's modulus, second one is bulk modulus, third one is rigidity modulus or modulus of rigidity. Okay, so this Young's modulus related to 1 dimension, modulus of rigidity is related to 2 dimension, bulk modulus is related to 3 dimension. Okay, so Young's modulus we have already seen, stress divided by strain is a constant within elastic limit. The same thing for modulus of rigidity is shearing stress divided by shearing strain is a constant within elastic limit. That constant is known as G, capital G. We can take this as value 0.8 into 10 power 5 Newton per mm square, or 0.8 into 10 power 11 Newton per meter square, something like that, or 80,000, okay, Newton per mm square. Like that you can take values and further work in cases, because in any engineering application we use mild steel as a member. That is the observation. Okay. Then what is strain energy? We have already seen the amount of energy stored within elastic is called strain energy. So that is referred in Newton meter joule. So the area under the curve that represents the strain energy, the work done, and this is half into strain, stress into strain. That is nothing but area of the triangle is going to be the strain energy with respect to the particular diagram. You can refer the stress strain diagram. What is X? X is strain, Y is stress. That is a triangle area of BH. That is what the thing written here. Okay. Then we move to simple formula management. See here, stress is load divided by cross-sectional area. Strain is change in length by original length. Therefore, what is Young's modulus? Stress by strain. That is sigma by epsilon. Sigma is P by A. Epsilon is delta by L. I am just inverting and multiplying. Then what happens? The E is coming as PL by A delta, like this coming. Delta is brought this side. Therefore, deflection equal to PL by A. This is the formula. Okay. Let us come to this small example. See here, the deflection is given by P1 L1 by A1 E1, P2 L2 by A2 E2, P3 L3 by A3 E3. Because in this particular worked out example, 3 different cross-section members is shown here. Okay, it is being applied by 35,000 Newton. Okay, these members are connected in series. Correct or not? So now, in this example, what they are asking, three lengths are shown, Young's modulus given, stress in each section given, total extension of the bar is given. Sorry, these things are all the stresses and total extension. With your perception, so this is member connected in series. Member connected in series means load carried by each member is same. You see here, this member is carrying 35,000 Newton. This is 35,000 Newton. This is also carrying 35,000 Newton. Okay. And the deflection will be, total deflection will be sum of individual deflections. Here some deflection, here some deflection, here some deflection, add all to get the total deflection. That is nothing but total extension of the bar. Okay. This is member connected in series. So the heading is member different cross section subjected to axial load. That's what we have noticed. So the data is taken out. Pressure, sorry, axial pull is given, length is given, converted in mm, diameter in terms of mm. Therefore, area is calculated. Similarly, for other section it is done. The values are taken. Say here, the other section A2 is this and A3 is this. Okay, and Young's modulus is given. Even if not given, you can take as mild steel as a member. What is stress now? I already said this is member connected in series. The load carried by each member is same. Therefore, sigma 1 equal to axial load divided by area of section. Axial load is same. Therefore, 35,000. First area is first section 100 pi. Then the value is coming like this. For stress 2, it is P2 by P by A2. P is same. A2 is varying and changing. See, as area value increasing, the stress value will come down. Okay. And we notice this stress value. Okay, let us go back to the given diagram. See, here stress value will be higher, here stress value medium, here stress value will be very, very less. Reason, the cross section area is going to be the particular one. Okay, that is going to be taking responsibility as area increase, I mean cross sectional area increases, stress value will come down. This is for the observation. Okay, that is what the thing we have noticed here. So in the big part of the particular one, the stress experienced by it will be very, very less. That is what the thing. What is extension? Extension is nothing but the sum of individual deflections. So first individual deflection PL by A1 E1, P2 by PL2, P2 L2 by A2 E2, P3 L3 by E3 A3, something like that. E is same for all the material. E is taken out, P is same common. Taken out, L1, L2, L3 are substituted. And the total extension is calculated to be 0.183 mm, which is coming as in linear unit. Okay. Then we are moving to, so from the previous example, what is a simple idea, engineering excellence we can take means, I will just go back to the experience. So now you see, their area of cross section is very less, their stress value will be very higher. That is a learning you are getting with respect to a member subjected to axial loading. So if you want to reduce the stress, what should be the corrections you have to make from engineering perspective? Increase the cross section area. That is a learning from this problem. Okay. Then another concept is called principle of superposition. Okay. For example, there is a member in between, some loads are there. In between also load is changing. In such a manner, the things are there. How are we going to handle this type of system? This is done by a principle called the principle of superposition. For example, when a number of loads are acting on a body, the resulting strain, according to the principle of superposition, will be the algebraic sum of strains caused by the individual loads. What do you mean by strain? Change in length divided by original length. Algebraic sum. Very good. That strain, okay. Now, what from the above statement, what is the deflection? Sum of individual deflection. That you can understand from this previous one. What is strain? Strain is change in length by original length. Okay. So when that is same, then automatically the total deflection will be sum of individual deflections. In this example, say here 50 kilonewton, A, B, C, D, there are 4 sections here. 50 kilonewton for a length of 600, 80 kilonewton, 20 kilonewton, 10 kilonewton like that. So you have to find out the total deflection of the elongation of the bar. All right, you. All right. Now you see, some students are raising hand. I am unable to answer. It is one-sided thing now. Just keep listening. Your doubts will be clarified. Ramakrishnan, your doubt will be clarified. Okay. Now you see the brass bar is there. Here now you see brass bar means what? Young's modulus to be given. It is 1.05 into 10 power 5 Newton per mm square. So area, cross-section area given there. E is given. Change in length they are asking. See here, we have to analyze. AB is experiencing what load? BC and CD. What loads they are experiencing, that we have to calculate. For that, we have to do a small calculation things like, okay. So something is not okay here. I am taking the next screen here. You see here 50 kilonewton. I am put just a drawing one line left to one line right. Okay. Then I am putting now in bracket. At this point, whatever left load is acting, left means minus, right means plus. See here up to this what only 50, left is acting. So I am putting left side here. Right side, if you see 80 is acting. See here 80 is acting here right. 20 and 10 is acting left. So 80 is plus 20 and 10 is minus. Correct or not? So see here 80 is plus 20 and 10 is minus. So what is the net? Net is plus 50. Therefore, the load is acting 50 right hand side. So this member is experiencing, AB is experiencing tensile load. That is what the observation. If you see the other section, B to C, if you see the particular one, at B what is happening? See here what, how many loads are there? Here 50 is acting left side, 80 is acting right side. Minus 50 plus 80. Correct or not? Minus 50 plus 80. What is that? 30. Correct or not? And this side you have to calculate. For that, what is that? 20 acting left, 10 is acting left. Therefore, what is the acting now? 20 acting left, 10 acting left. Therefore, 30. Something like that. So this particular member BC is experiencing compressive stress. Okay. Come back to the last section CD. It is coming like at this point. What is the thing now? See here. At this point, 50 acting left, 80 acting down, right. Therefore, minus 50 plus 80 minus 20. So net is 10. 10 is acting right hand side positive. Therefore, I am just mentioning 10. Okay. Here you see the other one. The last part is 10 kilonewton is acting left hand side. Therefore, it is minus. Minus mean acting left hand side. Therefore, even though the member is experiencing a complex loading, you see the top portion AB is experiencing tensile, BC is experiencing compression, and CD is experiencing tension. So you can calculate individually PL1 by A1 E1, something like that differently you can do that, and ultimately you can do that. The first one is coming some values, second one is calculated to be calculated some values, things like that, and you are able to get the next one, and the final value is coming as minus 0.1142. What do you mean by that? As a net, the total member is shortening its length. That is what the observation we make here. Very good. Then we move on to the next level. See the analysis of uniformly varying circular load. See here, this type of small questions may be important with respect to the present type of things. We have to concentrate a little bit. Formula-driven kind of approaches for solving small questions for answers, right? See here, one side diameter is D1, other side diameter is D2, uniformly varying circular rod. Okay, so here the total length is about L. So for this, the total extension is given by 4PL by pi E D square. Okay, this is a formula. I am not showing any practical formula development and things like that. It can be from standard textbook. I am straight away taking the results for working out some new problems. Okay, find the modulus of elasticity of rod which tapers uniformly from one dimension to the other. The length of 350. The rod is subjected to axial load of this. Or to find the extension of the particular one. So D1, D2, L, P, TL, everything is taken and everything is just being substituted. 4PL by E, D1, D2. In any of the calculation, E is not given. You can take like Young's modulus material, for mild steel. So you can take like the particular one and you will be able to substitute everything here and you will be able to get the things done. So here everything known except E value is calculated. Okay, for this particular given situation. Come to this particular one. Uniformly tapering rectangular bar. That you see the top view, it is something like rectangle, right? It is not a circular rod like, it is a rectangular bar. So it is a cross section. You see the top view, it is same. So one side it is A, another side it is B. If you apply tensile load, the corresponding formula for deflection is given by PL into ET A minus B log E. Log with base is called the ln, natural log, divided by AB. So you first you take A by B and then you take ln, some value will come. That value you multiply with this particular expression to get the particular deflection. So here also formula I have taken. So here one practical example is given here. A rectangular bar of steel 2.8 meter long, 15 mm thick. The rod is subjected to axial tensile load of 40 kN. The width of the rod varies from 75 mm to 30 mm at the other end. Find the extension of the rod. If Young's modulus is 2 into 10 power 5 Newton per mm square. Okay. So length, thickness, P, and the width is A, B is taken, E value given, delta L is asked now. So here P, L, everything is substituted in this formula and the things are taken. So here log with base E, that is ln. If you use a calculator, you have to press ln button. Okay. Don't push log button. Don't press log button. That is not the right approach. You have to be careful in this, because in any science and engineering, wherever log is coming, whether it is mentioned or not, it should be always ln, log with base E. You have to be careful. Okay. Then this particular one, you see modular ratio. There are two materials involved, means the E1 by E2 is called the modular ratio. So it will not have any unit, because both of them will get cancelled. Like, okay. So we are coming to bars subjected to composite section. Previously, we analyzed the bars subjected to, I mean, like series. Now it is like parallel. Okay. So this is member 1. Hatching pattern is different. Here member 2, hatching pattern is different. You have to be careful. For this, how we are going to analyze the particular one. For a member connected in parallel, the deflection remains same. Okay. The total load will be sum of the individual loads. For example, this will take care of some load. For example, I am applying a load P here. Let us say it is 50 kilonewton. This first one will take maybe 35 kilonewton. The second one may be taking 15 kilonewton according to the dimensions. Okay. So the total load will be sum of individual loads, but the deflection will be same for both. This is what the observation. Okay. So now what is the total load? P1 plus P2. What is P1? Say sigma 1 equal to P1 by A1. Therefore, P1 load equal to sigma 1 into A1. Similarly, P2 equal to sigma 2 into A2. Therefore, P equal to P1 plus P2 will be sigma 1 A1 plus sigma 2 A2. This is one condition. What is the other condition? The deflections are same. Deflections are strain means strain will be same. What is strain? Change in length by original length. Original length is same. When deflections are same for both the members, for example, this extension will be equal to this extension, right or not? Therefore, definitely the strains will also be equal. That is sigma 1 by E1 equal to sigma 2 by E2. Okay. So in this example, there is a steel rod. It is being connected by a copper tube. So copper tube, same hatching pattern is shown here. It is something like a tube, and you are trying to load with 45,000 Newton. As I told you earlier, the extension will be same. It is something like parallel condition. The extension will be same. The total load will be sum of the load taken by individual members. Load, copper tube will be taking some other load. So total load will be nothing but addition of this load and that load will give you 45,000. That is the observation. Okay. So what they are asking, steel rod diameter given and the copper tube diameter, external dia, internal dia given. The composite bar is subjected to axial pull of 45,000 Newton. Length of each bar is 15 centimeter. Another interesting factor is there. The length of each bar, even if not given also, the problem can be solved because we are not using this any other place. That is another observation. Okay. Determine the stresses in rod and tube, load carried by each bar. Okay. Young's modulus for steel material and copper material given. It is 1.1 to 10 power 5, 2.1 10 power 5 for mild steel in Newton per mm square. Okay. Dia of steel rod, area of steel rod is found now, and the external dia of copper tube is there, internal dia of copper tube. Therefore, what is area of copper tube? Pi by 4, outer dia square minus inner dia square, which works out to something. Both are having same value eventually. Correct or not? It is something like Pythagoras theorem, 3, 4, 5. Have you noticed that? That is why it is coming like area is coming same. Okay. No problem. I think if you're not understanding this point, also not an issue. Just to calculate the value and keep it ready. So axial pull is given here, 45,000. Length is given. E of steel, E of copper is given. Okay. Now you see the stress in the rod and tube. That sigma is equal to stress in steel. P is equal to load in steel. Sigma C equal to stress in copper. PC equal to load in copper. And strain in steel equal to strain in copper. Two conditions I told you. What are the two conditions? I said two conditions. That is, strains are equal. This is one condition. And the total load equal to sigma 1 A1 equal to sigma 2 A2. This is what the thing we notice now. Two conditions we are going to use for solving two unknowns, sigma S and sigma C. Okay. So this condition we are implying sigma S by EC equal to sigma C. So I am getting stress in steel rod equal to 1.909 of stress in copper rod. So one condition we have arrived. So for two unknowns solving, we require two equations. What is the second equation? The second equation will be sigma S AS plus sigma C S equal to total load P. Correct or not? So for sigma S place, I write 1.909 sigma C, and AS is nothing but already calculated. Sigma C is what? We don't know. AC is calculated known. Total value is 45,000. Why we are doing this? Because two unknowns are there here. To bring it to one unknown, we have to substitute the equivalence from the previous equation. That is sigma S equal to 1.909 sigma C. Group sigma C, try to solve and things like that. It is coming to 21.88 Newton per mm square. So sigma C is working out to be here. So substituting this value sigma C in the previous equation, you will get things like that. So which is taking more load? Steel rod is taking more load. Because of that, the stress is coming more here. Copper stress is coming here, less here. What is load carried by each bar? Load into stress into area. Sigma S AS equal to this much. Similarly, sigma C AC will be the other value. If you add both will come 45,000. One approach, or we just subtract 45,000 from the previous value, we will get load carried by the copper one. So what is the observation here? The load carried by steel rod will be more than copper rod. That is what the observation we can notice here. So a member connected in series means what is the condition? Total extension will be sum of individual deflections. Okay. And load carried by each member is same for series. For parallel, what is the condition? For parallel, what is the condition? Deflections are same. Because of that, strains are equal, and something that is coming, the total load equal to sum of the individual. Okay. Into thermal stresses. What is this? You notice in this particular screen, this is nothing but your rail. Correct or not? Yes. The thermal strain, if you see, due to temperature, the expansion of material is noticed. Correct or not? In summer and winter, due to summer, the material expands due to excess heat. Correct or not? And winter, it is shrinking. Why it is so? So we need to understand this particular behavior, and we should be able to get something done, like very worth of doing this concept. Okay. See this. Due to summertime, due to linear expansion of the steel material, where the length is more, that way it is trying to have something very higher of the particular one. Okay. So in this particular one, you see, due to summer, here this side you can notice, here it is exactly closed here. Then here it is more open here. Okay. Something like that. So this is the reason you notice the tatak sound while the train is moving. You can notice the constant sound. Tatak. The noise is coming from the wheel is running over the gaps. That makes the noise. That is an impact load, actually, to say. And of course, this is a mandatory gaps to be provided in order to understand the thermal stresses and other things. All right. It is like that. Okay. So the change in length is given by alpha delta T into L. Okay. What is L? Length of the member. Delta T is change in temperature. Alpha is called the coefficient of linear expansion. Coefficient of linear expansion. Okay. It is per degree C basis. It is given like that. Okay. Then we move to what is thermal stress and things like that. See, the thermal stress is an important concept. Even you can notice in railway sheds, right? For example, small stations are there, right? Even the railway structure is something like huge structure. We have to accommodate these thermal stress and the related ideas there also. So one end will be fixed, okay? Some rollers will be provided elsewhere. When you go next time in small station, railway stations, you notice some of the places you will find some rollers, right? So these rollers are available in order to accommodate thermal expansion of the particular steel material due to excessive heat in summer and a very, very cool climate in winter. So here in our country, it is not a big thing. In foreign countries and all, in winter time, it will be very, very hectic cooling. Okay. That time it will be shortening like anything. So the total member, if it is totally fixed at all the ends, for example, we are supporting elsewhere, right? All the supports are fixed means it is going to be an issue, right? On the other hand, if you provide the roller, due to summer, it will slightly move away so that the expansion is accepted, made okay. And during winter, it is shortening. Because of that, the roller will roll back inside and the structure will be without any deformation, will be permanently available. This is what the thing we notice, okay? And things like that. And we move to another example and things like that, okay? See, the thermal stresses are stresses induced in a body due to change in temperature. If temperature is not realized, I mean change is not there, then it will become zero. Thermal stresses will be zero. It is another interview question also. For example, there is a member, cantilever member. What do you mean by cantilever member? A member is available free at one end and fixed at other end. I am just heating and it is expanding. And what stress is induced in the member? What stress is induced in the member? So it may be thermal stress, linear stress, tensile stress, or compressive stress, or no stress. So the no stress is the answer. Listen, the particular expansion is not prevented. Prevented means some stress will come. If not prevented, no stress will be experienced by the member. Okay, and because of that, if the cantilever member is heated freely at the end, stress induced in the member will be zero. It is another interview question, very important question also. Okay, and you see here something called yield distance problem. I am just considering here as yield distance problem. You see here, this is shown in the figure. So because of this one, say this BB is expanding and trying to go to this position, B going to B dash, right? But A is at A only. And to some level, I am allowing the free expansion, and after some time, I am stopping, something like that. So the support is yielding to some levels without affecting, and after some time, it becomes very rigid, not allowing. When it is not allowed, stress is induced in the member. So that is what the observation, right? What is a compressive strain here? Decrease in length by original length. Alpha T delta L, something like that. Here it is original length L plus alpha T L, something like that. So this compressive strain is coming here, alpha T. What is stress by strain? That is Young's modulus. Therefore, stress equal to strain into E. Alpha TE is going to be your stress now. Okay, thermal stress. So the thrust or load will be stress into area, alpha TE into A, something like that. What is sometimes if the extension, see if the ends of the body are fixed, rigid support so that the expansion is prevented, then compressive stress and the strain will be set up in the rod. These stresses and strains are known as thermal stress and thermal strain. The thermal strain is extension prevented by original length. What is extension prevented? Delta L. What is this one? L. Therefore, alpha T is going to be thermal strain. The thermal stress will be thermal strain into E will be alpha T. Okay, as we discussed. Take this example. This is a steel rod, diameter given, length given. Two grips are maintained at temperature 95 degrees centigrade. Is reduced to 30 degrees centigrade now. If the ends do not yield, means what will be the stress accumulated? The ends yield by 0.12 centimeter. What is the stress accumulated? I will give you a small example. You need to pay 1 lakh rupee to the bank, let us say. So you have zero money, means the stress will be for 1 lakh, correct or not? On their end, you have 60,000 in hand. The 60,000 you can freely feed. So balance 40,000 will be the loan commitment. The same way, if do not yield means what? No scope of yielding. Therefore, the stress will be very higher. As like you need to pay 1 lakh rupee. But on the other hand, this some levels of extensions allowed mean for that level stress won't be there. Beyond that, some level maybe stress will be there. See this example, 2 into 10 power 5, Young's modulus given. This alpha is coefficient of linear expansion. In per degree centigrade basis, it is given. Area of the rod, area of the rod, length given, temperature given. Correct? What is the formula? Stress equal to alpha into T. That is no, against do not yield that situation. Then it works out to 156 Newton per mm square tensile. Correct or not? The pull on the rod is nothing but stress into area. So it is coming like this value. It is very higher because of the stress is higher. When the yields, the particular ends are yielding, therefore the alpha TL is the original expected length of this one, and minus delta is to be done or less value. So the stress value is coming down, and this stress value is calculated to be 108. By permitting 0.12 centimeter, I am getting less stress here. So what is the corresponding pull is this much. Therefore, what is a simple idea from the learning means, some provisions if you are giving, then you are trying to reduce the stress value in the member. That is what the learning from the problem. Okay. If the provisions are not there, as like the gap between the rails, things like that, then it is going to be very, very higher. Okay. Then I already told you what is resilience. Strain energy stored within elastic limit. That is called resilience. Proof resilience is in a unit volume of material. What is the strain energy stored? That is called the proof resilience. So model of resilience is proof resilience by volume of body, something like that. We are moving to next unit, that is principal stresses and strains. Before getting into this concept, this is very, very important to note. Okay, what is the way it is coming important? In which way it is reflected? See, in engineering, any failure is accounted towards fatigue. The fatigue is nothing but due to stress reversals. That is an important point. Okay, and that means it is experiencing tensile stress, compressive stress. You take, fold it, unfold it, fold it, unfold it. What will happen? So that at a particular length, it will be made into two halves. Correct? So at that place, if you touch, it will be more heat because of what hardening. That you notice. So similarly, a shaft is rotating means it is experiencing tensile and compressive stresses often. I mean, like the top layer is experiencing tensile means bottom layer will be experiencing compressive stress. If you fold the other way, the tensile will become compressive, compressive will become tensile. The same is happening with respect to shaft rotating also, because of that stress is coming in the picture. So that is a major failure in any mechanical, this one, right? So in other than that, any failure is we are trying to connect everything with a particular stress called principal stresses. The principal stresses is something that I will tell you. You see this diagram. Diagram not there. Okay, no problem. For example, the planes which have no shear stress are known as principal planes. The corresponding planes are the planes of zero shear stress. The planes carry only normal stresses. The normal stresses is called the principal stresses. So you take a complex material which is being stressed by lot of things now, and a lot of stresses like tensile, compressive, shear, things all accommodate. So you are considering internally a cube. You are trying to rotate in such a way, at a particular plane, you notice that only normal stress exists, shear stress becomes zero. That plane is called a principal plane. The corresponding stress, normal stress, is called a principal stress. There are methods, analytical as well as graphical. So different things are there, right? I am straight away giving the formula for the particular one. Major principal stress is given by sigma 1 plus sigma 2 by 2 plus root of sigma 1 minus sigma 2 by 2 whole square plus tau square. Similarly, the plus is replaced by minus for minor principal stress. The magnitude of shear stress is nothing but second part of this equation or this formula. They both are same. Okay. And the position of planes you can obtain from this formula. We will go to a numerical. The rectangular block of material 110 Newton per mm square one side, and this one is shear stress is 63. Other side it is 47. Tensile stress something like that. Here sign convention is important. Tensile you take as plus and compressive you take as minus. Okay. For shear there is no condition here. See here. This major principle, what is the formula? This is a formula. Substitute here. Then what happens? What is the major principle says? This one with the plus. Here some sign convention is wrong. So some calculation is not shown. You substitute here and get plus value. Okay. Here sideways is minor principal stress is there. One screen is missing. And minor principal stress is with minus. Okay. Major principal with plus. So substitute the value with plus. Here it is coming minus. Okay. So 78.5 plus 70.43. It is going to be something that is going to be major. But here because of minus it works out to 8.06. So two things are there. And you see here the direction is given by 2 tau by sigma 1 minus sigma 2. It works out to be theta equal to 31.43 degree. So from vertical 31.43, it is making some principal planes on which only principal stresses exist. These type of principal stresses are very essential in predicting the real-time failure in situation, right? The maximum value of greatest shear stress will be the second part of this equation, or this equation you can try to get the value. It is working out to 70.436. Okay. And what is Mohr circle? Mohr circle is a graphical method of finding tangential, normal, resultant stresses, right? So different conditions are there for Mohr circle. It is a graphical method. Same workout idea, whatever we have done earlier with respect to formula, we are able to get the values things. Here the difference will be the angle, all angle will come twice like that with respect to Mohr circle. It is also interesting to learn. Then we are moving to another concept called the shear force and bending moment diagrams. Okay. So what is a shear force? Means shear force at a section is defined as the algebraic summation of shear forces acting either to the right or left of the section. Correct or not? You take this particular member, point load, things like that. Okay. So in beam is a structural member which is subject to transverse loading. What is transverse loading? Load acting at 90 degree. Transverse load is, say, given here. Shear force is, it is unbalanced force either of the side of the section parallel to the cross section. Okay. Moment is what? It is a force into perpendicular distance between the line of action, the particular one. Bending moment at a section is what? It is a moment on either side of the section in a plane of the beam. So shear force at a section is defined as the algebraic summation of shear force acting either to the left or right of the section. Similarly, bending moment is the algebraic summation of bending moment acting to the left or the right of the section. That is what the notice we have made. So here you see the point load, things like that. So uniformly distributed load, uniformly varying load. It is something like triangular loading. Sometimes it may be couple, sometimes it may be oblique load. Different things like that. Okay. The UDL is the load is acting in a certain area, something like that. It is a rectangular loading. UL is a triangular loading. It is something like triangle. It is working easy, triangle like thing. And the couple, sometimes couple may be there. Sometimes inclined load things may be there. Oblique load. Okay. It is also another observation. You see the support. If you see roller support, hinged support, for horizontal how is coming, vertical is coming, on inclined plane how it is coming, things like that. So hinged support is something like it will have horizontal as well as vertical reaction manageable. Fixed support will have horizontal, vertical, and the moment also. Okay, something different. See the knife edge support is there, roller support is there. Roller support means for only vertical reaction will exist and things like that. Okay. For cantilever beam means what? One end fixed, other end is free. Simply supported is but at the ends the supports are made. Beams with overhangs, if you can call like overhanging beams. Fixed beam means both ends are fixed. Continuous beam means more than two supports exist. Okay, that is what the continuous beam. You see the sign convention ending. You see, so if you, this is a section means right side. You see, right side means what? This side from this is going to be negative. Some sign convention, that is right side means how do we consider opposite ends of graph? Something like if the load is coming down is positive, going up is negative for right side. For left side you see as like graph, going up is positive, coming down is negative. So if you take the bending moment, if I bend upward it is called a positive bending moment, if I bend downward it is called a negative bending moment. Okay. Beams in bending. Shear force, for example, at a section I am considering. Shear force at this section is defined as algebraic summation of shear force either to the right or left of the section. For example, to the left I am working out QX, that is nothing but shear force. If you see RA, RA means what? From left side, as like graph, going up is positive, coming down is negative. See here, RA positive, V1, V2, V3. Say this is positive, this is negative, this is negative, this is negative. Totally sum it. That is nothing but shear force of this section. This will also be equal to, if you take the section right side means what? Going up is negative, coming down is positive. This some sign convention we are following. Both value will be exactly same. Okay. Bending moment, if you see, bending moment of this section is defined as algebraic summation of bending moment to the left or right of the section. Right or not? Let's say left side if you consider, see here, RA into A, V1 into A1, that is negative because trying to bend down. RA is trying to bend upward positive, V1 is trying to bend downward negative, V2 is trying bending downward negative, V3 is negative, something like that. To the right means what? Here if you consider, see here it's trying to bend upward positive, it is trying to bend downward, it is negative. Therefore RB into B and V4 into A4, something like that. Okay? It is a small explanation, things like. So how the things are there and how you are drawing the diagram and things like that is a very short duration explain. And concept torsion. So torsion, if you see, say both side I am applying twisting moment, torque. Okay, the torque because of application of the twisting is happening and the failure is more like. The effect of torsion is what? The angular displacement at one end. So these type of things are constantly happening. For example, one side is shaft is protruding, and another side there is a gear added here. I am trying to rotate the gear. So this side it is not allowed to rotate. So the shaft is being squeezed. This is what the observation we make. So the angular displacement of one end cross section with respect to the other end to set up shear stresses. Because of shear stresses, the failure is happening likely. Okay. And things like that. So how the concept of shear stress is generated is explained here. At a section here, see here one side here it is twisting is happening, the other side is happening. Because of that, the twisting is failure is likely like. Okay. So what is twisting moment? Both in what you are applying, that is moment is called twisting moment. What is shearing strain? Because of load. See here at par with A, B will be there because of twisting moment applied at the end. The B will be moving to B dash, something like that. The shearing strain is noticed. Okay. Modulus of elasticity is what? Something like that in shear. That is nothing but G value, tau by R. Okay. Modulus of elasticity is nothing but shear, or modulus of rigidity. Both are same, or shear modulus. So that is nothing but tau by R. Tau is shear stress by radius. Okay. Angle of twist if you see here. So how the things, what is the angle being twisted? That is called the angle of twist. Okay. So this is a simple torsion equation. T by J equal to tau by R equal to G theta divided by L. So what is T here? Torque in Newton meter, polar MI in meter power 4, tau is shear stress, R is radius of shaft, G is shear modulus, angle of twist and length of shaft for L. See here T is maximum, this tau is also maximum. This point you remember in mind always. When torque is maximum, the shear stress value will also be maximum. Okay. What is the assumption? In any of the theory, there is assumptions always. The material is homogeneous. This type of assumptions with which only we have made the above equation. Homogeneous means what? Same elastic properties in all directions, right? Homogeneous. Homogeneous means same material. The wordings are not proper here. See, homogeneous means same here. Okay. And isotropic means having elastic properties, all directions same. Homogeneous means same material. Isotropic means elastic properties are same in all directions. The material is elastic following Hooke's law. Shear is proportional to strain. The stress does not exceed the limit of elastic, and the circular section remains circular. Cross section remains plane, and the circular section rotates as if rigid. Okay, something like that. So what is J here? Polar MI pi by 32 d power 4. Polar MI for hollow shaft it is d power 4 minus d power 4 subtracted, multiply with the pi by 32. Right. If you see the torsional stiffness, nothing but T by theta. From the previous equation, this equation, if T by theta is brought means the Gj by L will come, correct or not? So this is going to be the torsional stiffness equivalent. Okay. The G value if not given in the problem, you can take like 0.8 into 10 power 5 Newton per mm square with respect to ductile material mild steel. Okay. The power transferred is T omega, that is 2 pi nt by 60. This formula I can think of. Distribution of shear stress in a circular shaft if you see. So from at center, the shear stress will be 0. As the radius increases, the stress value will be maximum, and it is assuming the linear relation, particular thing like that. Okay. And if you say substitute the things now, the tau max you can think of like 16 by pi dq. So this is like this. The power transmitted by the shaft will be 2 pi nt by this one. Torsional stiffness is done again. So torsion of hollow shafts, if you see. Of course, you have to use now where J is coming. This particular idea you have to use now. For example, if you take the inner diameter equal to half of outer dia, then you will notice in comparison with solid shaft as 1.066 times of this particular one, something like that. Okay. So the hollow shaft, if you have solid shaft, when do we apply? The hollow shaft we will use where more space is there. Solid shaft we apply where less space is there. But if you apply hollow shaft with very less weight of shaft material, you will be convey the same torque as you want. That is a very interesting point. So we have to use hollow shaft wherever it is convenient for the particular one. Okay. And the reduction of weight, if you see, for example, given a case study like thing. So from the torsion of this equation, within 1 minute I am completing the lecture. So here J value is something taken now. For example, inner dia, outer dia, half of that if you take. Done now. Sorry, I'm coming to next screen. See the solid shaft weight comparison, things like that. For example, 0.75 of the particular one, DI equal to half of DO if you take. If you substitute the particular thing, you will notice 25% of the weight is being saved. Okay. Reduction in weight is about 25%. It is what the particular thing we notice. So the torsion is also important concept. And I can say like for fifth unit, you can say like stability with respect to Rankine-Gordon formulas related ideas may be useful. And 4 conditions are there, like Euler's formula. That is also you can have a look at it. And the deflection formula, different methods, how the things are there, you can have an idea and complete the things like. So then springs you can concentrate. Open coil, closed coil helical spring, which may be very useful. And the bending stresses, if you see some of the basic expressions, meaningful ideas, like all basic equation, stress distribution, and the basic terminologies and things like that may be useful.